Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. I hope you had a lovely Easter, whatever you did, spending it with family and friends. And I'm sure there's plenty of people around the world that have got a hangover from too much chocolate and sweet stuff and sort of indulging in things that they don't normally do. But look, Easter comes once a year, and I think it's a time for all of us to celebrate in our own sort of way. I'm not a big fan of chocolate. I had a little bit, but you know, it's spending time with family and friends, I think, is the most important thing. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Knight of Swords. Now, look, this is one of those sort of ambiguous sort of cards that people sort of say to me, I don't understand the knights and pages in the tarot deck. Now, look, let's just clear that up once and for all. The knight or a page is a young person up to the age of 25. Now, knights to me are males, pages are females because they wear dresses. So we've got the Knight of Wands this week, which is a young man up to the age of 25. The secondary meaning is speedy news or situation, something coming to an end, speedy situation or a finish. You can see he's charging off on his horse, he's going into battle, he's ready to do everything, he's ready to get everything happening very, very fast. Now, I want to clear up another little myth too. It doesn't matter what age your children are, they can be 2 or 92. To you, they're always your children. And in a tarot reading, they will always come out as a page or a knight, depending on their sex, of course. And it's not an insult to your children that might be well over 25. It's just that you're their parent and you always see them as children. So we always see them in the tarot reading as being a page or a knight. Even both my own children find that a little bit insulting because they're both over 25, but that's the way it is, and that's the way I've taught over these years. If this card was to come out in a reading, it's indicating to you that things are changing, things are going to move, things are going to become a lot easier than what they were. So don't sort of look at it as being sort of a negative. Look at it as being very much a positive. Now, it's a really, really exciting, interesting time of the year now. I mean, you know, each week as we look into the stars and we look at the astrology and see what's going on around this amazing planet of ours, we do go through cycles. And, you know, there's 12 cycles in a year known as the sun cycle. And this is when what most people associate with their astrology sign is their sun sign. It's the year of the time of the year that they were born, and it's whatever sign they were born under. Well, I'm pleased to say that the sun has moved out of Aries and moved into Taurus, so happy birthday to all the Tauruses. And it's a really exciting time of the year because we've gone through the movement and the fastness of the Aries, sort of the beginning of the zodiac new year, and everything was fresh and new and energized and sort of full steam ahead. And it's now sort of like we can calm down a little bit. We can catch our breath. Things have gone into Taurus where it slows down just marginally, says time to catch your breath, start to look at finances, start to look at money, start to look at, you know, the things that are important that make our world go round. And I mean, without money and keeping an eye on our budget and all those sort of things, and that doesn't matter what star sign you are, we all have to take care of our money and look after our budget. Well, this is that time of the year where we start to sort of delve into things. We've, you know, got most of the holidays out of the road for the time being. We can now start to sort of sit down and really focus on a budget for the remainder of 2025 and start heading, you know, I suppose putting some savings away for special events and Christmas and things like that that'll come up later in the year. So this is a really good time to start that budgeting thing. So again, happy birthday to all the Tauruses. So the sun is in Taurus. It will be there for a little bit longer now. It's only just gone in. It's only at 2 degrees and we have a 30-degree cycle. So that's not necessarily 30 days. It's somewhere between 16 and 26 is the reasons why the sun moves at a varying pace through the different months. And this is why it might be a perfect time to bring up one of the number one questions I get asked besides love is I'm on the cusp. There is no such thing as being on the cusp in astrology. A cusp line is like a cut line. It's, you know, if I give you a pie and I ask you to divide it into 12 pieces, you cut it into 12 pieces. Those pieces that you've cut, or that cut line, doesn't mean that you can have a piece of my pie or I can have a piece of your pie that's sitting next to it. It means, well, this is your whole piece and this is my whole piece. Well, the same is said for astrology. You're either one sign or the other. Where it comes in, where people write it up as being on the cusp, is because the sun goes in as early as the 16th of the month and it comes out as late as the 26th. Rather than sort of saying you're definitely one sign or the other, they say, oh, you're on the cusp. No, you're not. This day and age, there's plenty of astrology apps and everything out there that you can punch in your date of birth and your time and place if you know it, and it will give you an accurate which sun sign that you are. There is no question about it. You are one sign or the other. So you can't be both. And, that's an interesting thing. And I've had many people argue with me and say, no, 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 I'm definitely on the cusp. Well, there is no such thing. And that's why I use the example of cutting a pie into 12. The cut line is that's your piece, that's my piece. It's the same in astrology. So we're going to move through what's actually happening. We've got a plethora of planets sitting together at the moment, which is known as a conjunction, and that means that they're all holding hands or sitting together within a 7-degree angle. So it's interesting because this plethora of planets is going to go across 2 zodiac signs. So it doesn't water it down in any way. It just means the energy that I'm going to be speaking about for the first series of planets will be in Pisces. Then I will tell you when it moves into Aries in this description. So the first part of the plethora of planets we've got is the North Node. Now, the North Node, the Moon's North Node, is not actually a planet. It's a part of astrology that is very important because it shows each and every one of us the way forward. It's what we're aspiring to. It's what we need to be trying to achieve in our life. So at the moment, the North Node is sitting in Pisces. Now, this will affect predominantly water signs. So we're talking about Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, the opposite sign of Virgo, but it is washing over all the other remaining 8 signs. So the North Node is trying to show us the way forward. He's trying to share with us that we need to be aspiring to be better people, that we need to sort of stop, look and listen, be kind to the people that are around us, try and, do something creative, or be creative in the way that we find solutions to problems. Not everything is black or white. There's many different versions of how we can get to the end result, and it's what's the best result for everybody. It's not asking us to be selfish. It's saying, yes, put your needs first and then swing it around and say, well, how does this affect everybody else in the equation? Am I being fair to them? Am I sort of being inclusive in this? If the answer is yes, then proceed forward. Now, this is going to probably affect a lot of things that are connected with either things that we love to do or things that give us pleasure in our lives, because the North Node is actually conjunct or holding hands Venus, the planet of love and affection. Now, this isn't always where we look for new relationships in a chart. It isn't always where we look for the love of our life. It can be the things that give us pleasure. We're not always on the hunt for a new relationship, but on a day-to-day basis, we work with or we deal with things that put a smile on our face. Whether that's music or having a phone conversation or spending some time on the internet or watching a movie, whatever the case may be. So I like to look at Venus as being more the things that put a smile on our face. So this may very well be that it's showing us the way forward, that we can be more inclusive with family members and friends and put a smile on somebody's face that maybe might be having a rough patch or not feeling well or had some changes in their lives. It's our opportunity to do something kind, to do something nice. Now, Venus is also conjunct Saturn, the planet of discipline. Now, in the old teachings of astrology, Saturn was like the father figure, the disciplinarian. This day and age, where women are so much stronger and have a bigger role in society, I don't think Saturn necessarily takes on that role. It can be male or female. It's just somebody in authority, somebody we look up to, somebody we respect, and we're sort of going to them for some sort of advice, or maybe asking them for the way to stabilize things, or have you got some suggestions at how we can improve things, because we're all trying to improve this collective bigger picture, with the North Node trying to show us to be kinder, nicer, sweeter sort of people, but also, with a bit of backbone as well, sort of, and bringing in some creative new solutions or some different ways to problem solve the things that have been going on in our lives, or, are heading up in our lives that we need to be very aware of. Now, the next part of the conjunction, or the stellium of planets, or the plethora of planets, stellium means 3, we've got 5 here, is the Aries component. So Neptune has just gone into Aries, but Neptune is also conjunct or holding hands Saturn. Now, Neptune is the planet of affectionately known as illusion or delusion, but it's also where our creativity comes from. It's also asking us to look at things in maybe a different light. Neptune gets a lot of bad rap. It's sort of, we're walking through the Neptunian fog and we've got to come out the other end. We haven't got there yet. Well, that's okay. We can walk around in a fog. Sometimes that's where our best creativity comes from, is because we're allowing our mind and our body and our soul to just take us wherever it needs to. And this is where some fresh, innovative new ideas can come from. So with it being in the Aries energy, it's asking us to sort of go into ourselves first, me first, me first, me first. And by doing that and looking at where the creative side of universe takes us, then we can swing it back around to how do I include you? But we need to look at it from a very selfish me first, a very Aries perspective first, and then we'll understand how to share it. So that's really important. So if you've been caught a little bit daydreaming lately, and you're not necessarily a fire sign, but you could be any other sign, but it is predominantly affecting fire signs, which is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra, then, not so much make an excuse, but tell them that, hang on a minute, I'm working on something really important. I'll get back to you in 5 minutes. I really need this time to finish my little creative journey, because there might be some answers in there that may help you. So Neptune is also conjunct the planet Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. So it's really important that we communicate clearly. And sometimes, when Mercury's sitting in a fire sign, it can come across a little bit abrupt or a little bit abrasive. It's usually because that person is deep in thought, or they're working on something and you've actually interrupted their train of thought or asked them something and they were so focused on the other that they snap or bite your head off, and you sort of think, oh, well, that wasn't the reaction I was looking for. So just sort of make a few allowances for that. It doesn't really matter what your star sign is. Anything that I've just spoken about with this plethora of planets can affect each and every one of us, but it is affecting those signs more predominantly. It sort of washes away and becomes a lot more gentle with the remaining 8 signs. Now, also some big news this week. We've got Mars, the planet of action, has just moved into Leo. So this is really exciting for fire signs. They may be finding that they're having trouble sleeping. I know I have been a little bit, and I'm a fire sign. And I've been putting it down to that I've just got so much going through my mind. And when today, before the show, when I looked at, oh, hang on a minute, Mars has just moved into Leo, that explains everything, that it's sort of like the energy is starting to ramp up. And it's not so much that maybe you're not sleeping as deeply. It's like you're already starting the day's events or things that you need to achieve already in your sleep. It's like you're getting everything sort of ready. You're having the dress rehearsal so that when you actually get up and get going for the day, you've got a plan. It's automatic. It's just bang, 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 let's go. So that's really interesting. Mars will be there for a little while yet. So enjoy the time with Mars in Leo, because Mars really feels quite comfortable in Leo because it's a planet of action and Leo likes to get things done too. So it's a really nice, positive time. But let's just err on the side of caution with all this amazing energy of Mars in Leo. It is absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong. And it is affecting the fire signs, which is Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries, and the opposite sign of Aquarius. But it brings me to the next part of just a gentle warning here, because Mars is actually opposite or opposing Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this is like a seesaw effect. It's like a push-pull situation. Now, we haven't spoken that much about Pluto and Aquarius because you're going to be there for such a long time. I don't want to bore everybody week after week talking about this. But Pluto is the planet of transformation, slow, deliberate, definite. And it takes a long time to go through a sign, roughly about 40 years, and he's only just started his journey. So the interesting part here for me is the fact that if you are a Leo and you are trying to make changes in the world and you're sort of going out there and you're thrusting yourself into the public eye, or you're sort of, you're a big fish in a little pond in your own world, be very, very, very careful, because with the opposition here with Pluto in Aquarius, it's saying, yeah, you can go out there and you can spruik everything that you like, and you can believe that you're right. You can believe that you're doing it for the betterment of man or your local community or your family or whatever. But what's the motive behind it? Make sure that it's very clear, it's very honourable, and it's going to benefit everybody. It's not just about you blowing your own trumpet and being important and being in the limelight for 5 minutes. Make sure that there is an after effect, that it will be beneficial, that it will sort of carry on long after you maybe have lost interest in it, that this is going to be something that's going to have a flow-on effect. Now, this could be affecting anybody that's a Leo and anybody that has got something in Aquarius or is an Aquarian. So they need to be careful, but it is affecting the whole 12 signs. But what I'm suggesting here is if you are a Leo, be very, very careful of the way that you're approaching things, that you're not coming on too strong, that whatever you're trying to bring in or whatever you're trying to share with people has a bigger effect. It's not just about you personally, me, myself, and I'm so important. It's about what effect are you having on the bigger picture, or the other family members or your work colleagues, or the people in your friend circle, or whatever the case may be. You might be a leader of a community group, how does this affect the rest of the group? Not just you blowing your own trumpet and saying, look at me, aren't I important, aren't I amazing, and I'm going to come in here and tip everything upside down and put my own stamp on it just because I can. It's that sort of attitude that we have to be very, very careful of. So, it is a warning. It's not something to sort of say, oh, well, everybody's going to be behaving like that. There can be some amazing breakthroughs with Mars and Leo here opposing Pluto. It can be sort of showing us that there's a completely different way of approaching things that we've never thought of before. The light bulb moment, oh, wow, that's exciting. That's really interesting. And a lot of people want to get on board and get behind it. And then we can create some amazing change in our local communities for the better. So, there's always a positive and a negative with everything in astrology. And I try and focus on the positive because I'm a positive person. But we also have to be aware of the downside so that we can avoid that as well. Finally, I want to wrap up the astrology section with Uranus still sitting in Taurus. Look, I know I've been talking about this for a long time, but there's still a lot of Taurians that are not taking notice of Uranus being in there. Uranus is like the bolt of lightning. Things can happen out of nowhere. Be very, very careful what you wish for. Be very, very careful what you verbalize. Don't sit there and say, I hate my job, because the universe will listen and they'll take it away from you. If you're not happy with your job, say, look, I'm not having a good day, or stamp your feet, throw a tantrum, whatever, and get over it and say, okay, tomorrow will be a better day, and I'll maybe start looking for another job. Like, phrase it in a more positive way. Don't just sit there and start, verbal diarrhea, as I call it, and then turn around and complain when the universe was listening and gave you what you said. Be very, very careful. There is changes coming, and it's working in a way that if you're working with the energy of Uranus, it won't be a shock. If you're ignoring the warning signs or the things that need to change or the things that you need to maybe modify or look at differently in your life, then Uranus will come along like the bolt of lightning and say, I've had enough of this nonsense, bang. This is the change. And sometimes it comes about in not a pleasant way. People could have something happen in their lives that isn't pleasant that makes them change course that they wouldn't have done if that event hadn't happened. So if you are a Taurus or an earth sign, be aware of this. This energy is still quite strong. It's starting to build momentum again. So we're talking about Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. So that's where we're going to leave the astrology. We're going to talk with Laurie in Shawnee in Oklahoma. Are you there, Laurie?
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, Laurie. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm 45 today.
Well, that's good. I hope you get spoiled today. How can I help you? Do you have a question I can answer for you, Laurie?
Yeah, well, I want to know about a relationship, and then I want to know about my finances, if they're going to get any better. The relationship I'm in, do I need to end it?
Okay. Do you mind sharing with me the person's first initial of the person you're in the relationship with? So I don't need you to tell me their name because we don't want the rest of the world to necessarily know, but just their first initial would be great.
T. The letter T.
Letter T. Okay. All right. Really, really interesting, because what I'm picking up around this person, it's like a stop-start situation. It's like I take 3 steps forwards and 2 steps backwards, and it's like, my goodness, can't we ever get on a roll here? Can't we get something sort of moving? Do they have trouble communicating how they feel? Because that's what I feel. It's like they go to say something, and they rehearse it in their head, and then it's sort of they say nothing, or very little comes out.
Yeah, I'm totally silent.
Yeah, and that's really frustrating. It's like, well, hang on a minute. I can try and put the words into your mouth. You just nod occasionally, yes or no, if I'm on the right path. But that's not necessarily appropriate. But that's how I would handle it.
Exasperating.
I have a dreadful sense of humour like that. If somebody doesn't want to answer me, then I'll have to sort of take control of it in some sort of way. Look, I know deep down this person loves you, and I don't feel anything untoward there. It's just that they are literally frozen in fear when it comes to talking about their emotions. They probably even have trouble telling you what they want for breakfast, let alone anything more important past that point. And it's interesting to see, how did they get this far in their life if they're not a good communicator? Well, I suppose they might have to sort of step up to the plate and answer a question, particularly if it's related to work. But a lot of times you find in situations like this, Laurie, they're quite capable and quite comfortable doing that at work or whatever the situation may be, because they've been trained to do so.
Right.
They're following a set of steps or guidelines or training or whatever, but nobody gave them the training manual to love and relationships or how to communicate with my partner. And that's the problem. And it usually stems way back to
I've been
childhood.
thinking there was something else going on.
Yeah. But look, I can certainly assure you the person's very faithful. I'm not picking anything up like that. They just don't know how to put it into words, how they feel. And I think sometimes too, they're even shy on showing you how they feel. So, if you're not happy with the way things are, then you've got to ask yourself, how long is the piece of string? How long is my patience going to be? Can I live with this for the rest of, my life?
Yeah.
If the answer is no,
Well,
then you've got to be the one
there.
to make some choices and decisions for you. Now, let's move on to your finances, because I only have a very limited amount of time to spend with you.
Great.
And
Thank you, Amanda.
It's interesting because they're showing me by the end of May, things seem to start turning a corner, Laurie, in as much as, I'm not saying you've got a bank account full of money, but things are certainly becoming easier. You're starting to see that, with doing this or doing that, I'm starting to see changes or improvements with my finances. By the end of this year, you're going to feel as if you're well and truly back in the driver's seat, that you've turned a corner and you can start to really see the progress that's being made. But I'm going to say to you, it is going to take a lot of effort. It's going to be every time you go to spend money, you have to stop, look and listen and ask yourself, is this absolutely necessary? Do I have to spend this amount of money, or can I put it to one side or put it on something else? And by doing that, you'll start to realise then, not so much that you were wasting money, but you'll start to realise where your money is actually going on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And it will make it a lot easier then to try and control or, change the direction of how I'm making the money work for me. The other thing that they were showing me by August was that there was actually an increase in money coming in. So is that you're expecting maybe a promotion at work, or is there some sort of pay rise or something that could come about around then?
An inheritance.
Inheritance, is that what it is?
An inheritance.
But I want that to be yours. I don't want your section of it to be shared with anybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
All right. Okay, sweetie, that's where I've got to leave it, unfortunately. Happy birthday again, Laurie. It's I've only got a limited time, as I said on the show. We're going to talk with Tammy in Munis in Indiana. Are you there, Tammy? And I'm sure I probably pronounced that wrong. Are you there, Tammy?
She can't do anything about it.
Tammy, are you there, sweetie?
Hello?
Hello, Tammy. Hi, Tammy. Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
I just basically want to know, I'm going through a situation right now with my landlord, and I'm trying to see if what the outcome is going to be. Let me rephrase that. Do you see my life getting any better after the move that I'm going to have?
So is the move taking place in the next month?
Yeah, hopefully. I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, because I could see a change of residence in the next month. And to me, after that, once we sort of get unpacked and a bit sorted out, everything seems to be going much more smoothly than what it's done in the past. But this is you, yourself and I that's got to make this happen. You've got to be the one to sort of make sure that everything's where it should be, that, any leasing agreements or whatever are in place, that you've triple checked everything, that everything's going, is correct and above board the way that it should be. I know that you've had a rough patch, and it's not just been a couple of months. It seems to be what they're showing me on a timeline here of about 18 months, Tammy, where things have seemed to have gone backwards, upside down, every other way except forward. Well, I'm pleased to say that that's starting to change with the move of residents. Things will start to go forward. Again, you will start to regain the control of your finances again too, which is a good thing, because finances have been all over the shop as well. And we need to be able to sort of get things moving again in your life. It's interesting because I didn't feel that this place that you're moving to was your first choice. Was it your second or third choice? It wasn't necessarily, that's where I want to be.
Basically, yeah, because I don't really see anything else
No,
You know,
but I'm going to say
there's
it's a
this one
good
place that
choice,
I really
even though
want
it
to.
may not have been your first choice, sweetie. It actually ends up being the right place for you for where you're meant to be. Sometimes the universe has a master plan that we don't necessarily tap into or completely understand. And we sort of think, oh, that's not really what I wanted. And after we get there and put it into place and we look back and we think, oh, that really worked out well. I wouldn't have thought that, you know. So, you know, sometimes we've just got to go with the flow, even though it may not be our first choice. But I can certainly assure you by the second half of this year, you're sort of really starting to feel back to your old self. You've got plenty of energy, you're happy, you're settled, and you're sort of really sort of embracing life. Is there some new study that you're looking to take on board this year, work related?
No, I'm just wanting to make more. I just want my, my life to be more successful when it comes to like my financial status. Do you see that getting better?
I do, but I also see some sort of further study or training or something coming up after August, which will then set you up for even more success financially heading into 26, 27. Okay, Tammy, that's where we've got to leave it. I wish you well with the move. And I know that, you know, it may not have been your first choice, but it's going to end up being the best direction that the universe is taking you in. And it was lovely to talk with the ladies today. Like everybody has different ideas of where their life should be going or what they're expecting or what they need to bring about. And sometimes, as I said, the universe has the master plan and we just have to be patient and go along with it. It's not always about, you know, our first choice is the right choice. It's what got us on the path to sort of looking at other opportunities. And then the universe can sort of guide us to where we need to go. I do firmly believe that our lives are mapped out for us. Where we get our free will is we get to the corner and we can say, I can go right or left. But we intuitively usually go the way that we're meant to go anyway. It's what, you know, the universe is mapped out for us. They show us, they guide us, and then ultimately it's our decision. So this week I want to leave you with a song that's been going through my mind all week, and it's a really beautiful old song. And I know we lost this gentleman that sang this song probably about 12 months ago now. I'm not quite sure. I didn't look that part up, but this song's been going through my mind all week, and it's been, you know, it's popped up on things that I wouldn't expect. And it's If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot. And I think it was one of the most beautiful songs that was ever written. It was a love song, and it was talking, you know, about him, how the romance ended. But it's a beautiful song with very, very powerful words. And I think many times in my life I've thought to myself, gee, I wish I could read your mind. I'd know what was going on. And you know, and I mean, none of us really have that skill, but it's just a beautiful song with beautiful lyrics. And he was a beautiful, talented man who really just went through life sort of not really blowing his own trumpet. And I think that was the sad part, that not that many people got to know of his amazing talent and his amazing voice. Anyway, until next week, check out Gordon Lightfoot and If You Could Read My Mind.